In the idea of the month of Elul, the time of introspection, as we've spoken yesterday, the time of reapproaching, reconnecting, strengthening our commitment to Hashem, our commitment to God, our commitment to Torah mitzvahs. And in the idea of the parsha of this week, where it says, Shoftim v'shoitrim titan lecho b'chol shorecha. Torah says one should appoint judges and police officers b'chol shorecha, in all your gates. So I want to share with you a parable of the Baal Shem Tov. The Baal Shem Tov says the following. This powerful king had 3 extremely close confidants that profess their total love and commitment and selfless devotion to the king. But the king wanted to make sure that it's real, and he wanted to see the level of their love and their commitment towards him. So the king had the 3 palatial dogs that was taken care of, they were nurtured, they were important, the dogs of the king's palace. He entrusted to each one of these 3 confidants one of the dogs, and asked them to look after these dogs to the best of their ability. One whose love was so overwhelming couldn't see himself spending money on feeding the dog, because all his money and everything that he possesses and in his whole attention was all just to the king himself. So he let the dog starve to death. The other one couldn't allow the dog to starve to death, but just fed them minimally. A third one spent everything on the dog. He fed that dog and fattened him, allowed him to grow, and became a ferocious dog. So then the king labeled those 3 individuals. The first one who allowed the dog to die, but the whole money that he had left, the money that was entrusted to feed the dog, he made a crown for the king with it. So the king considered him, called him the Chacham, the wise man. He knew where to spend his money and what is important. The one who fed the dog minimally and preserved some of the money to keep for the king. So the king said, he's what you call your average person. The one who spent everything on the dog and allowed the dog to grow to huge proportions and left nothing for the king's interest, the king called him the Tipish, the fool. He doesn't understand what the priorities are. Says the Baal Shem Tov, the king is God. The beloved is the soul. The quote-unquote dog is our body. God entrusts the dog to his beloved. And the question is, where do we put the main attention? So the wise man understands that it's all for God. Our whole purpose of being here is not to feed the dog, not to allow the dog to run around and grow and become important, even beyond the average dog, to the point of taking over your entire life, which is the fool The Tippish is the one who allows the dog to grow to such proportions, to devote so much time and effort and interest and his whole life into the dog, that he has nothing left for the king himself. There's nothing left for the soul. It's all about the dog. That's a fool, says the king. The average is the one who does a little bit for both. Yeah, takes care of the neshama, takes care of the soul, and takes care of the body, but that's the average. The wise one, says the Baal Shem Tov, is the one who understands, sure, we have to take care of the body, sure, we have to take care of the dog, but it's only so that the neshama should be able to do its task. This is something that b'chol shorech, in all your gates, let's make sure that we know our priorities.